Okay, folks, we're almost there. We're almost there. So we are going to construct our collar and cuffs. I already did the collar on mine, and I'm doing my stuff two-tone. So I did the collar already. So I'm going to show you how to construct the cuff because it's the exact same. It's the exact same process. Okay, so we take, and again, I'm doing two-tone, so that's why you see a bunch of stuff. We take our two pieces, so yours will be the same. We take our two pieces and we're going to sandwich the face sides together. Okay, so the two. So one side you'll see the fabric, the other side will be the side that has the interfacing on it. Sandwich those two together, and then we're going to sew three of the sides together. So we're going to sew both outer edges and then along the edge here. We're going to leave this one open for now. Go ahead and sew, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna sew this in one section. So I'm gonna sew it, and I'm gonna sew the corners, and then I'm gonna sew the corners. Okay, I'm not pinning because y'all know how I am. I don't be pinning like I should. You should pin because you're not there yet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew. So what I'm going to do is remember I'm not going to sew this. I'm not going to sew this short end. Okay, so I'm going to start on the outer edge here. Now we are going to be sewing at since this piece is it so that as I'm sewing it, I'm actually sewing it straight. So you see it's at an angle, positioning it on the machine. I'm going to position it so that I sew it into a straight line. Okay, so just going to start. I'm going to give myself 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. So 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Break, and I'm going to go ahead and see. Let me see if I turn the light off. It's better for me. It's better if I turn the light off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch. Stitch, and I'm going to sew it straight. So even though it's at an angle, I'm going to sew it. I'm going to actually sew it on the angle so that it's going to be a straight line. Okay, so sew it. So sewing, and right before I get to, so I'm about at the corner. See, I'm here at the corner right now. I'm not going to move my needle out of, actually, let me show it down a little further. I'm not going to move my needle out. I'm just going to lift the presser foot up, and then I'm going to change the orientation of my fabric. So, actually, I should go a couple more stitches. I look at it. Let me go a couple more stitches. Turn it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to lift it up, lift the presser foot up. I'm going to turn my fabric. I'm going to put my presser foot back down, and then I'm sewing again. I'm just sewing in a straight line. So I'm just going to sew this straight, and I'm going to do the same thing when I get to the other corner, okay? Just hold this tight. Give a nice tight corner, and it's imperative that you turn it, that you lift your presser foot up and turn it, and you just don't curve it, because if you curve it, then you will not have nice tight, um, a nice tight corner on your cup when you get to the end of it, right? So see how tight that is? Now there's top stitch on this. We're going to get to that in a minute, but you want to make sure that you turn it, that you don't just curve it. Now, for those of you that got excited over the serger, we could have serged this together. Actually, when I did this collar, I did these pieces on the serger, and then we're gonna turn it inside out. We'll turn it inside out in a second, and then we'll do our of okay, lift my presser foot up, and then I'm going to turn. So I'm a little off, so you're going to see I have more. I have more here than I probably should on this side. And that's why it's always important as you're sewing to piece together the gauge where your piece on the should have. No, sorry. It looks like I have more out here, but I really don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trim. I'm going to trim some of this off so I can see it. So I'm going to pause you for a second. I'm going to come back and then I'm going to finish off this piece. Okay, we're back. Since I had to trim, I actually had to take it out of. I had to take it out of the machine because I had to trim this. Just weren't matching up. I had too much, so I went back and trimmed it. Okay, so I'm just going to start back on this corner. I'm going to start back on this corner. Yeah, I'm going to start back on this corner. Pierce it. I'm actually piercing it where the last stitch was going the other direction. So pierce that stitch. So again, I'm going to have a nice tight corner. And then I'm just going to remember, even though we're sewing at an angle, even though the fabric's at an angle, we're holding it so that it's sewing straight down. Okay, so we now have this piece constructed. So we have it sewn on 3 sides. Let me just trim some threads here. Sewn on 3 sides. And then the next step is we are just going to turn it inside out. Okay, so turn it inside out. Now, we have corners on this, right? So we're going to have to get corner to make sure that when we turn that corner inside out. I have nails, so I can push it with my nail, but you could use the head of your seam ripper, the plastic seam ripper. That's a good one. There actually is something that's known as a point turner that I would invest that you recommend. I would recommend that you would invest in. You can see I've turned it inside out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the iron it down, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to stitch. Okay, so pause until I come back and top stitch. Okay, we're back. Now I'm going to top stitch. So you see that I have ironed it all. I've ironed it all down, and since I'm using a fabric that just because I'm using a fabric that's two-tone, when I ironed it down, I left a little bit of an overlap so you couldn't see like right here on the edge. Okay, but with your fabric, you should just line it up, iron the edge down, and then we're going to come back and we're going to top stitch. We're going to do the same method that we did on the inside, on the outside. We're going to this time we're going to keep it in. We're just gonna top stitch. So we're going to give ourselves again. This time we only want to give ourselves about 1/4 of an inch um, in seam of seam allowance because we want our top stitch to be like just really tight and close. Same thing with our cuff and then this piece. Now, when we get ready to put it together, we are going to go back to the serger. Um, I don't know. I haven't decided. Let me play with it, but we'll do the piece in class where we attach this piece to the. Still playing with serging it or not. I'm definitely going to serge the collar, but I don't know. We'll get there. We'll get there together. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and sew my top stitch. Now, here's the thing. If you like the way this finish looks on your fabric, you don't have to do a top stitch. I'm doing a top stitch because personally, I think for the fabric that I'm using, shirting fabric, I think the top stitch looks great. But if you are fine with the way this looks once you pressed it down, you do not have to do the top stitch. Okay, I'm just personal preference. I top stitch because I like the way that looks on the fit. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch this all down. And let's see. Top stitch it all down. I'm going to do the same method that I did before. I'm not going to do a back stitch on this one. So, not going super fast either because my fabric also has a stripe on it, so I'm trying to make sure I'm still going straight. So looking at all these diagonal lines. And right here, I'm at the end. You see I'm at the corner? I'm not going to take my needle out. I'm just going to lift my presser foot up, turn it, one more stitch. Sorry, I need like one more stitch. Just going to, and then what happened? Alright, so let me go back and pierce it. Turn it. Now, on this corner, it's a little tough because you have 4 pieces of fabric coming together, so it's going to be a little tough there. Okay. All right, and then I'm just going to turn the corner now, and I'm just going to continue my stitches. For the garment that I'm constructing, side is going to be the side that's going to be out because I have 2 colors. So this is the side. The sleeves are really dark, so I might want to go the other way. But I have 2 tones. For you, it doesn't matter what side you sew it on because most of you are color for both sides of your collar cup. I got real ambitious with what I want to do. Actually, it's because I found the fabric at such a good price, and it wasn't enough of one fabric to make. So since my needle was already up when I got to this stitch, I just turned it back down, used the balance wheel, turned it back down. So again, I'm just looking at the presser foot, changing my orientation, and then when you're sewing fabric that has lines in it, this is why your edge of your presser foot and your needle gauge are really important because it shows you where you are. If I didn't know that, I just sewed through a straight line and then some diagonal lines. I could have gotten lost, okay? All right, so, and here we are. We are done. So this is what the cuff looks like. This is what the collar looks like. And on both of them, we have an open end. Okay, so we have an end that we haven't sewn yet. We'll sew that piece together, constructing or attaching. Okay, so collar and cuff. You are good to go. I'll show you how to do the cuff, but the collar is the exact same process. All right. See you on the other side.